All right, folks, up next on the Second Chance podcast, we got Donna Tashjian. Um, she calls herself Life Mastery Coach, International Spiritual Intelligence and Life Mastery Coach. Really, really cool title for someone who helps you find better days. Help some of the stuff that we talked about, just how she really has a unique way of reframing your approach to things, and just how you view being busy. And it's a really cool realization that I think you'll enjoy as our conversations taking place. She uses an example, and it's a really good light bulb moment for folks that are feeling overwhelmed. And we also got to talk about, and how I kind of phrased it up, is understanding that in life you want luggage and not baggage. So you'll hear us talk about that in this episode. Let me know what you think. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing, commenting, and be sure to share this with someone who needs to hear it. Have a good. All right, group. Today on the Second Chance podcast, we're joined by Donna Tashjian, an international spiritual intelligence and life mastery coach, author, speaker, and founder of Vibrant Living International. After facing a major career setback, Donna turned her challenges into opportunities, creating a nonprofit that empowers people to live vibrant, purpose-driven lives. Known as a truth exposer and a fear booster, Donna has spent over 30 years helping individuals lock their spiritual intelligence and transform their lives. Let's dive into her incredible journey of resilience and hope. Welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you've built a life and career centered around resilience and purpose. Can you take us back and kind of walk us through to the moment when you lost your job and share how the experience became this amazing foundation for Vibrant Living International?
Sure. A little bit further back as history to give you an idea of other things that have created resilience is I was a teenage mother. I became a mom at the age of 15. There is a longer story around all of that. It wasn't my choice, if that is clear, what I mean by that. But I raised my daughter and learned how to, at a very young age, to be resilient and bounce back from difficulties. So that is a whole nother story that that I could share and get into. But learning how to, I've actually won a resilience award for my first nonprofit that I founded. So it is something that I have learned, and I call it bouncing back. It's how to, when you get your feet knocked out from under you, and we've all had those moments, is what do we do? When I lost the job that you alluded to, I was working a lot. I was working full time as a realtor, and the market was not super great. So my husband and I also have a business in property management and home renovation. And so I was working full time as a realtor. I was working also in the business. And then I took a part-time job as well. So it was a lot. And I really thought that this part-time job was going to be the thing that I always wanted to do to help people. It was another nonprofit. And I thought it had potential of going full time and being able to do more. And kind of in my mind, put all my eggs in that basket, that was going to be the thing that relieves stress from the other areas. And that I would be feeling I was walking in my purpose. But as you alluded to, the story didn't turn out that way. So I said that about the eggs in the basket because when we get our hopes into something and it doesn't turn out the way we think it should, it can be quite disappointing, even devastating. And that's the way I felt. I still remember the day. It was March 31st. I live in the state of Michigan, and it was doing that sideways sleety rain. And it matched my face as I walked out of that place, feeling rejected, hurt, angry, afraid. All of those moments was going on in my mind as I walked away from there. And I am a coach. At the time, I was also doing some one-on-one meetings with clients and things like that. It wasn't something I was being compensated for at the time. It's just something I've always done. And I know better, but I was beating myself up really bad for all of that. And when we get our feet knocked out like that, it's like, what do we do? So I went back, as my source is God. And I went back and said, I know you have called me to do something. I've known it always. So what is it that I'm supposed to do next? I was feeling very lost. And from that place of crying and beating yourself up, and you ever felt like that, Jeff?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. From that place, Vibrant Living was born. And I did not feel vibrant at all. But God gave me the name Vibrant Living International. When you're feeling that low, you don't even know if anybody in your own town will know who you are. And since then, watching what has happened, as I call that day, that March 31st, the worst day and the best day.
Yeah.
Because it was able to get me do that soul searching to find my purpose, to really discover what I love to do, my sweet spot, I call it. Everybody has one. And it is finding that place to be able to step into that. And so Vibrant Living was born for me.
How we start this, is there any foundation of vibrant living that has been in place leading up to March 31st, or is this something that's born that day?
No, as I kind of alluded to, coaching, except we didn't call it coaching, I had been
Yeah.
doing for, well, now over 30 years. But I didn't recognize it as a thing. It was just something I always did. I called it mentoring, discipleship.
Yeah.
Other words, but it was just something that I always did. People were always saying, like I said, if I had a nickel for every time somebody said, I've never told anybody this. And so it was something that I did not recognize as, first of all, I knew that I was good at it, but I didn't understand that I could make a living doing what I was loving.
How long did it take you from March 31st to get your nonprofit moving and get Vibrant Living moving?
Yeah, it's about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was about a year.
What was that journey like?
The journey?
Yeah, like your progress, or is it is your struggle getting a business set up? Is your overwhelmed with business? Like, what did that just kind of was it excitement? Because I know that could probably be a big deal.
I talk about today that I turn people's fear into excitement, and I think there was a lot more fear when I began the whole thing. I call it following breadcrumbs. We want to know the whole picture. Like, I would have loved to know now the end result of where I am today. But all I had was someone said to me, for example, someone said, Donna, you should become an official coach. And I'm thinking a football coach screaming at people on the sideline and making them work out. I'm like, that's not who I am. And they're like, no, no, no. And I'd never really heard the phrase coach in what I did at the time. So learning that, and then I'm like, okay, so what does that look like? And so then I began to investigate that. And then then you get certified, as well as learning how to run it as a business. When you've been giving something away, how do you turn it into a business?
Yeah.
And all the mindset that goes along with that. So I chose a school. I went back to school when we really didn't have the funds for me to jump and say, Geronimo, I'm doing this anyway. But I went back to school, and there I got a personal coach, not just someone that was a mentor, but someone that was trained in really coaching. And we unpacked a lot, even stuff from my past that I thought I had handled, and how to then create my own personal journey of growth, as well as now turning this into a business. And so I had clients right away. I had already had people following me. And so I did have clients right away. And was I charging enough at the time to make a living? No. And learning the growth going from free to charging and the steps that it takes to do that. So that was a little bit about the journey.
We could spend a significant amount of time teaching people um, how what a struggle it is to charge for something that comes so easy to you. The confidence that somebody's willing to pay because you're like, oh, everybody's got this gift. Everybody knows how to do this. You take it because it comes so easy. You take it for granted, and then being able to make a living and
Yeah.
doing what you're, and trusting that you can do that. Out of that, I think was pretty cool though. You get to describe yourself as a truth exposer and a fearless.
Mhm.
Um, what give us like a story of a client transformation that embodied those qualities, or something to help us see what you see there.
Sure. One of the books that I read, and after you read it and then you've said it enough, it becomes yours kind of a thing, but I will give credit that it was from a book, is that uh, excitement is, or fear is excitement without the breath.
Yeah.
And so many times, if you think about it, you get startled, you go, and you stop breathing. When if you could just take a moment and take a deep breath, your body language changes, the chemicals that's going on in your body, and turning it to what if it could work out instead of what if it wouldn't work out.
Yeah.
And just switching the thought process and beginning to look at that. There are so many things that people say without realizing it that defines them. I was on a call right before we're meeting together, and I'm so busy was one of her statements, as well as, and I keep thinking it's going to slow down and quit being so busy. And I'm just overwhelmed with the da 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 da, all of the things, which one of us haven't felt that way?
Yep.
And I said to her, well, one of the things that I quit saying is I'm busy. And she's like, what? I'm like, I don't say I'm busy anymore. And my coach gave this to me, is I now say my life is full of the things that I choose to put in it. So it doesn't mean that I'm still not doing all the things I was doing. But now I said, so if you chose to say your life is full instead of busy, how do you feel? I go, you're doing the same things. You just changed your words. She's like, well, I feel lighter. I feel like I'm in control. It's my choice. And I said, she's busy with children activities. They were in all kinds, she had 5, all kinds of curricular activities that were going on. And I'm like, you have chosen, it's part of your character to be a mom and a cheerleader at all of these events. And it's your choice. It's who you want to be. So you're choosing to be there, not forced to be there. And my life is full of all of my wonderful children and all of activities. And she goes, that feels different. And so learning those little subtle things, the beliefs that we have. And the truth was what I said all along. But she didn't see it because she was stuck in busy and overwhelmed. That one of my coaches said to me, I called her. I was so overwhelmed right when the business first started. The nonprofit just started and everything. And I said, blah, 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 blah. I'm crying and saying all the things. And I wanted somebody to hug me and go, woe is you, sit in my little pity party with me. She didn't do that.
Yeah.
And so what she said, Donna, do you know what overwhelm is? I'm like, it means I got too much. She goes, no. Overwhelm is in your mind and in your beliefs. You're picturing it going wrong, that you're failing, that somehow it's not going to turn out right. And that's when your mind steps into overwhelm. So what do you want to picture instead? And so the phrase that I begin to say every day is, I'm going to get up every day and proceed as if success is inevitable.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you can never be overwhelmed. You're always choosing because your schedule is full, not busy. And you're choosing every day that it's going to work out for my good. Actually, I've got God's word on all things work together for good. And so learning to implement those few things shifts you from the lies that you're going to fail, that you're not going to be good enough, that it's going to turn out wrong, that what ifs, to things work together for my good. And I'm going to proceed as if success is inevitable.
Did the client, it's an immediate, like I could see the perspective shift immediately.
Right.
When you change it, did your client have that same realization?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's it is. It's sometimes they don't, right? Sometimes they're fighting you, or they're fighting against that inspiration, right? But like you said, is when you turn that around, to making them understand, this is what your happy is. This is your spot, and you're in control of it. It really turns the power on. It did for me, just listening to you explain it. I'm like, all of a sudden, I have the power again. Wait a minute, I didn't know I was in charge of this chaos. Yeah, that's, and then you layer in the other part. You layer in is spiritual intelligence, and what role does spiritual intelligence play in overcoming life challenges, and then how do you kind of guide your clients to unlocking it?
Well, I am a woman of Christian faith, and so that is the perspective I'm coming from when I say spiritual intelligence, because it could mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
But it is understanding. One of the keys is what I said, is all things going to work for my good. That is a key. The other statement I say in the trying to think about the best way to explain it is, everything is created twice. The chair you're sitting in, the desk we have, the computers, this technology, it wasn't in somebody's mind first. It was a thought before it became a thing. And when we realize, as you think in your heart, so are you, that is the basis for what I call spiritual intelligence, because the spiritual aspect is unseen. I can't put my hands on the thought. I can't say I can touch and feel this. So therefore it's unseen, and understanding everything is birthed from there. Everything is birthed from that place. And when we begin to understand how that operates, how to put handles on it so that I can make it work in my life for my good, because if you don't understand it, it actually can harm us. One of the analogies I use is the law of gravity. Now, that's not something you can see. We know it's true, but we can't, I can see the law of gravity. So if I didn't believe the law of gravity was real and I decided to walk off my roof, we're going to find out real quick. That's not a good idea. And then I'm angry. Maybe I'm angry at God. Maybe I'm angry at the world. Maybe I'm angry at myself. Why did this happen to me? Because I didn't understand the law. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me tell you there is also a law of compensation, or the Bible calls it sowing and reaping. So everything I sow, I'm going to reap. Every negative thought, every time I'm mad at somebody, every thought that I ponder on for very long, I have sowed it. I've watered it. I've fertilized it. And I'm going to reap that harvest. And then when we reap it, we're mad because I didn't want this harvest. So understanding that my seed comes to me. That's what the law of compensation says. What is mine comes to me. What you plant doesn't come to me. But sometimes I want what you planted. I don't want my harvest. I want what you. So understanding there's so many of those kind of ideas and concepts that I help people to grasp so that they can create a vibrant life, that they can co-partner with God and align with the blessings that he has for us so that we can actually receive them.
What, when you talk about that, you know, when you're helping these folks and we see the same, is there any, I guess what I'm saying here is throughout all your work, what are some of the common barriers people face in living purpose-driven lives? And then how are you helping them overcome those? Like what are some of the common things that you see in your clients?
The most common is low confidence, low
Yeah.
self-esteem. It is the single most thing that hinders us from believing that we can receive it, do it, whatever it may be. And so confidence is, but the biggest thing that I help them. Let's just take the story I told you about busy and full. You felt empowered in that 2 minutes or less conversation, correct?
Yeah.
So that is an example of just shifting little small things that we think are insignificant. Who doesn't say that they're busy? It's like that's one of the most how are you? Oh, I'm busy. It's one of the most common things. So it's shifting those small little things that make small hinges move big doors. So it is shifting those little beliefs that we have. And it's different for every person because as I listen to them, I can see them. Just like in that conversation, that was like the first 5 minutes of my coaching session with her. And I'm like, how are you? Oh, so busy. I'm like, okay, well, let's go there. And so it's just helping them. It is, I'm not good enough, which comes back to low self-esteem. I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. All of those kind of things, I think is the core of every human feels along those lines.
That's what I was going to ask you. It's like, what do you see? Now we know that common barrier, that common trait you work with is low confidence. Is there a common factor you see that contributes to this?
I think it's part of human nature. I've never met a person who didn't feel those at least some point in their life. And even the most confident people that you perhaps see on stage or actors or athletes or all of that kind of stuff deal with that feeling that, well, what if I mess up? What if it isn't? So to me, it's just part of human nature of wondering if we're, and depends on how you were raised, how significant, how strong the negative voices are. And so there is a lot of, one of my programs is called Turn Your Baggage into Luggage. So you can have the life you dreamed. And I got baggage, or I did. Now I got luggage. And helping people to create a life by design, not by default, is one of my other programs. And I have a program called Choose Joy. And I have a program called Balanced Blueprint Academy, helping people to create the blueprint to create a path for the life they would actually love. And when we know that the core is the lie is that I'm going to fail or I'm not good enough, then we reinforce the truth, creating new pathways in our brain so that we now, if someone tells me that, boy, it's going to take a lot for me to believe it.
Yeah, if you're like me, you got these little short phrases. So when you said you want luggage, like you use somebody baggage and luggage, I was like, I wrote that down as a quote for you. Like you want luggage, not baggage, and then you can really help explain the differences. That's a really like you said, man, and it's when you say it, you're like, oh yeah, Donna, Donna, right? But we're stuck. until I hear Don, like, and I could totally see your clients being like, yeah, Don, that's what I've been saying. And you're like, no, you're not. This is how you've been saying it. This is me helping you make sense of it. I could totally see these light bulb moments going on with you because I'm like, oh, that was good. But even with yourself, and as we wrap up here, 3 books, podcasts, coaching business, you're busy, and how do you work to maintain your own balance and harmony in your life while empowering others too?
Yeah, I have a specific, especially morning routine of quiet time, working, exercise, different things that I do different days, but a normal time that's set aside and it's non-negotiable. And so learning to implement that, it's one of the things I teach. It's a 15-minute miracle. And that first 15 minutes of your day, doing something intentional with it, not scrolling through Facebook with your coffee. It's like doing something on purpose, because 15 minutes goes really fast when you're doing that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
I help people to do that. So I'm purposeful, and that's an important word. I'm intentional about what I do, because I also know that everything I do, I also reap. So I'm intentional about that. I am unoffendable because I choose not to be offended. I allow people to have bad days. These are all things that are part of who I am that create that. Because if I'm not stressed out, I got rid of busy. I'm not stressed out. I'm not upset with anybody because I'm not going to be offended. And I'm taking care of myself, drinking my water, doing the other things. Life is great.
Yeah.
I just celebrated my 40th wedding anniversary. So there, I've got kids, I got grandkids, I got dogs, I got all the things that make my life vibrant. And I get to talk to people like you. And so I just love doing all the things, and I can actually get up and put my hands in the air going, I love my life. That's what I want to help other people do as well.
Yeah, that's a big deal, Donna. And I remind people often, whatever misery you're in, that's not your purpose. And it's your job to get out of it. And we're not put here to be miserable and live a life of misery. Sometimes, even my own journeys, I've had to really work hard to find the bright side because it seemed, that all wasn't in. But what I found was, man, the sun came up, and the next day went on, and time goes on, and life goes on, and not to get stuck in those moments for too long. Um, find that peace, and the way that you present it, Donna, is like very, very understandable, and it clicks. So I'm excited that folks that hear this, if they have the same thing, that they're able to connect with you. And that's what I was kind of going to ask you. It's like, who would you like to work with? Whoever's listening to this, and then how would you want them to connect with you?
I would love to work with people who want more out of life, who are not satisfied with the status quo, who like to continue to grow and make a difference in the world. And that's who I like to talk to. I do have a gift that I would like to give away, and I'll tell people where to get it. And it is a guide that I have created. It's called Renew, Recharge, and Thrive: Secrets to Vibrant Living 2.0. And it is a downloadable PDF that is available, and it has more keys in there to be able to live how to renew, recharge, and thrive. And that is available, and you can find that on my website. And it is the letter I, vibrantliving.com.
Vibratliving.com. Folks, make sure you take advantage of that. Donna, appreciate your story and your perseverance and your own resilience through this walk, man. And folks like you end up in a really special place of being able to help others get out of their own way and help them get to their happiness in a very probably in a way shorter time than maybe it took yourself or
Absolutely.
others. So, I can't appreciate you enough for that and the work that you do and for sharing it with us today. And thank you for being on here with us.
My pleasure, Jeff. Thank you too.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Donna.